Hi there, and welcome to my parents' home. This is my mom and her kitchen. It's very beautiful, isn't it? So is she.
Welcome.
And today we are in my parents' house, the house I grew up in, because we are making baklava, which is a family tradition for us. And I'm not quite sure why, because we're not Greek or any other culture that has baklava as one of its traditional treats, but well, why don't you tell them why you started making baklava?
Sure. So as a young person, my family went to the cultural fairs in the Milwaukee area, and we went to the Greek Orthodox Church one year for their Greek festival. And I had baklava for the very first time and really enjoyed it. So as a young adult, I tried to make baklava and found a cookbook and did the recipe, and it actually turned out pretty well.
Pretty well. Everybody I've ever seen try for baklava for the first time, even people who are like baklava connoisseurs, people who have grown up eating baklava, they're like, dang, this is really good.
So we make it once a year during the winter holidays, and it takes a little bit of time, but I think we'll make it so that you can see how to do it and not struggle with it as you try to make it.
Right, because this is one of those things that as I watched my mom make it when I was growing up, I was like, it seems like it's magic, right? Especially the way she does it, because she's got a system, and I am so honored that she has sort of allowed me to incorporate myself into this system and make this part of our sort of holiday traditions.
It's true.
But it looks like it's magic that one person shouldn't be able to do by themselves. So today we will be putting the baklava together. We are going to put the ingredients in the description box down there, and so if making baklava sounds like something you'd like to try, or you just want to watch us go through it, make sure you keep watching. We are going to start with making a nut and spice mixture that is going to go in between the layers of phyllo and butter.
That's right.
And so why do you start with this usually?
So I start with this because I can set it aside in the bowl so that it's ready when we start layering. The next thing we'll make is the syrup, because that has to cool before we pour it on the baklava, but that's way after the baklava bakes.
Right. So do you ever make like the nut mixture and just like put it aside and wait like a day or two?
Easily you could do that. If you want to do some of this prep work ahead, do the nut mixture, put it in a resealable plastic bag or a container that really seals well. And then you're ready to go when you start layering your baklava with your phyllo dough with butter, so that it kind of takes all of that prep work and you don't have to do it all in one day. I found that I did that when I was raising a young family, working full time. Those types of things cut steps that you need to save.
And trust me, I was a pain in the butt.
So we're going to start with the nut mixture, and I'm going to cheat because I have to use my recipe. So the first thing we need is 8 cups of walnuts that are sort of finely crushed. Don't get it to that powder stage. Get it to quarter inch or smaller bits, because if you get it too fine, you don't really taste the nut mixture, and if you get it too coarse, you're going to have trouble when you start layering the individual sheets of phyllo dough over that filling.
Right, so you're going to want it to be like smooth enough that you can lay it down in like an even layer, but not so smooth that we end up with basically walnut butter.
Paste, right, right, exactly. So
we're going to take those 8 cups of walnuts, and you're going to want a food processor for this. It's a lot easier than like hand crushing or using a knife. So
we can't get all 8 cups in this food processor at one time, so I'm going to do it in batches, and we'll start.
All right.
And of course, don't buy the whole walnuts because they're more expensive. Buy the ones that are already in pieces.
Right.
That's 2, and I think I can get 3 in my mixer.
I don't know about you guys, but I always have walnuts in my freezer. That's just because I love them. I love walnuts so much. I will put them in brownies, I will put them in banana bread, I will just eat them whole, raw, because I like to do that. Put them on my ice cream, that's good too. I just love walnuts. So that's 3?
That's 3, yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna...
I shouldn't talk so much, I'm going to get her off her count.
So we're gonna
3 cups of the nuts so far, and we're gonna what? You
just pulse them until you see that size that you're looking for. A little bit more. So you're looking for a mixture that resembles this, just kind of coarse crumbs, not big pieces at all. So that's the 3 cups, and I'm just going to dump that in this bowl I have ready, and do another 3 cups. By the way, this food processor is probably 35 years old because I think we got it for our wedding or shortly after, and we just celebrated our 35th anniversary.
I was gonna say, I think that thing's older than me. Maybe I know what I should get my mom for Christmas.
No, I love this thing.
Oh, that would change the way the baklava tasted if I changed your food processor, wouldn't it?
That's not quite 2. And Jess made a very important point in that if you have walnuts or any kind of nuts left over from your holiday baking, make sure you put them in the freezer because they will not last long.
Oh yeah, even in the freezer, if you don't eat them within the first like month or so, you can start to taste that little bit of like off, slightly, I don't know how to describe it, that slightly rancid flavor.
It's rancid. Yes.
How many are you at?
This is still another 3, so
okay.
we're at 6 total when I get these. And I don't think they make food processors that are any quieter than this anyway, so.
Yeah, mine is still that loud.
And again, we've got that coarse chop, so that'll be 6 total.
Alright, so we got 2 more to go, right? Because you said 8 cups?
That's right.
I can do basic arithmetic.
And when you're handling this blade, be very careful.
Oh yeah, don't cut yourself. And if you do cut yourself, don't blame me. Because my mama told you to be careful.
And as you can see, I've opened quite a few packages of walnuts to get this 8 cups.
Just 1 more cup. And do you might want to mound that a little bit because they're bigger pieces?
I'm thinking I will.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't use my...
So another reason that you want to use like the pieces of walnuts rather than like the big like half walnuts that you might get in some more expensive places is
They measure better.
they measure better. It's much easier to measure like the even 8 cups and have it be approximately the same each time when you have slightly smaller pieces.
Are you ready to go? Here we go again.
Let's go.
And it
That's good.
seems a strange thing to do, look down the tube, but that's how I can tell what size I'm getting to. So there's our 8 cups of nuts. And to that, Jess, we're going to add 1 cup of granulated sugar. For the whole recipe, you will need 2.5 cups, but we're going to divide it. 1 cup into the cinnamon sugar nut mixture, and 1.5 cups into the syrup. And I just used my 1 cup measure, so I'm going to have to do 2 half cups. And then clean up periodically. There's 1 half. There's 2 halves. And then to this, we're going to put 6 tablespoons
Oh boy.
of cinnamon.
So what kind of cinnamon are you using?
Well, I was really happy to tell you about my Penzi spices because I know they're a little bit more expensive, but you use so much less and the flavor is so much better. Short story, I made a chili. I was away from home and I made a chili and I didn't have chili powder, so I ran and got a different brand and I used almost the whole bottle just to make 1 batch of chili, and I do not like chili spicy. So.
Well, and I think I mentioned Penzi's last time I was cooking with cinnamon because whenever I don't use the Penzi cinnamon, I feel a little bit like I'm betraying them because it really is the best cinnamon I've ever tasted. I just ran out one night and I didn't have time to go to Penzi's again.
Well, and it's difficult right now when you don't want to make a lot of trips.
They are available online though. So.
But they are doing a really wonderful curbside where they'll have your order all ready for you. And I'm going to talk out loud. That's 3 because I'm afraid while I'm talking I'm going to forget.
Alright.
And all I'm doing is filled this jar yesterday, and it got a little packed down because I could put too much in it, so that's 4. 5. And I wish you could smell this right now because it is
I can, and it smells so good.
awesome. Okay. I'm gonna have you do a sous chef thing one of these days. Can you just
I should
stir
probably.
that up?
I'm just sitting here looking pretty.
You are.
You want me to use that spoon that you had?
This one is just fine.
Which is great.
So what we're doing is we're just mixing up the nuts and the sugar
And the cinnamon.
and the cinnamon, of course.
Someday they'll let that smell-o-vision. And for some things it'll be amazing.
Yeah. Funny. Okay, is that pretty well mixed?
It looks like
Grab this corner, yeah.
I've gotten all of the cinnamon and sugar and nuts all incorporated with one another.
And I'm gonna just slide this out of our
So putting this on the phyllo dough will probably be my oldest son's job, should he choose to accept that responsibility today. All right, looks pretty good.
So this we can just set aside.
All
That
right.
will be when we start layering the baklava. Now,
Do you want to put that in the sink?
I do. Now, what we're going to start is the syrup for pouring over the baklava once it's baked.
All right,
And then
so we're going to
Change over
switch to a
the
different
stove.
camera angle and we will see you pretty soon. So, apparently I am going to be making this syrup today, and I'm feeling like the weight of the responsibility that my mother has placed on my shoulders. She's going to be talking me through it though, so.
This is simple. You can do this. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is take 1.5 cups of sugar, granulated white sugar.
1.5 cups of sugar. And we still have that half cup measure out, so I can do that.
You can do this.
All right. That's half a cup. 1 cup.
Smell on this one.
Yeah. 1.5 cups.
Okay, next you need,
Oh, I should not put that back in there.
take that.
And then we can put this ingredient away,
That's right.
because my mama taught me to put my ingredients away when I'm done with them.
So the other thing we also worked on when we were cooking and teaching young people is that you always get your ingredients out ahead of time so that you know you have everything you need.
Right, you don't want to be in the middle of cooking a recipe and realize that you thought you had some sage, but you actually have to leave what you were doing in the middle of it, go to the grocery store, get that sage, bring it back, and cooking doesn't usually have a lot of room for that kind of mess up.
Right. And then as you use your ingredients, you're taking it and putting it away so you know that you've actually put in the granulated sugar in your syrup. And you don't have to guess.
I thought it was just so that everything was cleaned up when you were done, but...
Well, that's the bonus. But the real thing is that you know that you've used the ingredients that you set out.
All right, so we've got 1.5 cups of sugar in.
And I have set on this measuring tube. This is something that you use for molasses, for honey. And what it does is as you push that opaque plunger forward, it clears the sides of your sticky ingredients. So you don't
have a very
have as...
nice liquid measure
Yes.
for things like honey. And
So
you've got it set to
I have
a
it
cup
set
and a
to
half, it looks like.
Cup and a half, and you need 3 cups. So
So
you'll have
you
to fill
fill
that
it
twice. And I
Oh,
think
and
that's
it's
brand new.
Brand new. It has not been opened yet.
And I have a backup to fill the rest.
Okay. So I am just filling up my honey. Filling the honey up in this measure.
Careful.
Well, we want it to get
So the
level
measure
on the
goes
top,
all the way to
right?
the top, yes.
starting to look like this bottle
good.
was just a little over 1.5 cups, man.
Yes. So, again, the way it works is you tip it into your pot and then plunge it.
Tip it in. And then
Push hard.
push it all the way
And
out,
you have
and
a
then
spat.
use the spatula to scrape that bottom off.
That's right. You can just put this spatula in the pot right now.
Okay.
Now you're going to
Now
pull
I'm
it.
going to pull it back
Yep.
until it's 1.5. That is
It's very stiff.
a lot stiffer than I expected it to be.
You're watching the blue marks.
Oh, blue marks. Wait, what? Because this looks like You had it at 1.5 here.
I did. Yeah, that's right.
There we go. All right, so I'm going to try and get some more honey out of this one. But there's not a lot left. Now, if your honey gets crystallized, what do you recommend that you do to try and get it to flow again?
You know about this, don't you? So that has happened, and you can put it, make sure that the top is off the bottle, and put it in the microwave on low if you have that power setting, or one of the lowest numbers you can put it on, and just in 30-second increments, microwave it a little bit, and it will start to melt.
And watch out, because if you do it for more than 30-second increments, the bottle might start to melt as well.
That is true.
I have sometimes put it in warm water.
Ah, that would work too. I'm just going to do this.
Because I am nervous about.
Time.
I am nervous about melting that plastic bottle into my honey, you know? Because I've done it.
So have I. And then you throw it out and you...
Baby Bear's face got really scary looking, Mama.
I bet.
Oof.
Make sure you put just a little bit
A
more
little
in.
bit more.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. And I just tip, I'll take that, and I just tip the other one up.
All right, and then once you feel like you can't really get much more out, tip them upside down and you can probably get more out. Because we are thrifty Midwesterners, and we will use up that honey, by darn it.
Yes, we will.
Here is this. I believe that was the whole 3 cups.
That is. You don't have to worry about that yet, because that'll melt through. You need 3 whole cinnamon sticks.
3 whole, okay, so you've got the package of cinnamon sticks right here.
Yes, I was out of my Penzies.
Yeah. See, I'm not the only one who does it. Penzies is better, but we've got the, whatever this is.
You need a knife pass.
There's a knife right here that I can use to get the package open. I was careful. I did it away from me, which is
You did.
different than how my mama taught me. I think you told me a story once about Girl Scouts.
Yes, my mother had taught me how to peel potatoes with a paring knife, and I always peeled it coming toward me. And I did this during a Girl Scout camp. We were cooking a dinner, and the scout leader at the time came screeching over saying, "You're going to cut yourself." And I said, "I can't peel potatoes any other way." And she said, "Let me teach you." So it was...
I also find that when you're peeling something, I find that I have more control when it comes towards me. But
Well, I've gotten better at it, and certainly a sharp potato peeler pushed away from you works pretty well. All right.
Get some of our garbage dealt with. I'm getting some sticky fingers.
You need 1.5 teaspoons of whole cloves, not ground cloves, whole cloves.
1.5 teaspoons of whole cloves.
Yep. Also
That
smells
is
delicious.
half a teaspoon. So I love how cloves smell. And I love that they're like little buds of
They are.
flowers. But sometimes if you use too much of them, they'll anesthetize your mouth.
Well, and they overpower whatever you're making too.
Right. So you can't, when your taste buds are anesthetized by that, you really can't taste anything else.
Okay, here's the hard part.
But that's why we're only using little.
Here's the hard part. You're
Hard
going to have to cut that lemon in half.
Okay. I need a cutting board.
You do.
Because your counters are just too nice for me to do what I sometimes
I'm
do at home.
certain they would be able to cut, but I just don't usually do that. And I've gotten
Alright.
out...
Do we need any zest of this or just the juice?
We do not need zest.
Cool. So how much lemon juice? Just the juice of 1 lemon?
We need 6 teaspoons.
6 teaspoons. Okay.
So I've got... You want to show that what I've got out?
We have just a small bowl and a juicer sort of situated on top of it. And I am going to just juice this into the bowl, and then we will use the teaspoon measurement to measure out those 6 teaspoons.
That's right.
Which is basically just
Can I move this knife?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
6 teaspoons is the same as 2 tablespoons, which is the same as 1/8 of a cup. If you have something that measures liquid in increments of a cup,
and just
you can do 1/8 of a cup.
Sorry, just makes a good point, is that there is a difference between a measuring cup for flour and a measuring cup for honey or water or something else.
So they tell me, but I've used them interchangeably, and
I've done it. I'm careful when I'm baking not to do too much of that. You're not.
I used to be careful when I was baking, but then I got better at it, and I was like, ooh, what can I experiment with this time? All right, so I've got half of this lemon, just like really reamed out, man. I don't know why that, all of a sudden I had like this visual image of, I had really yelled at this lemon. It was in big trouble.
Oh, reamed out. Try and see if you've got enough right now.
All right. Well, that looks like more than 1/8 of a cup, but we
Yeah,
will
it does.
see. Here's 1 teaspoon measurement. Here's 1.
You need 6.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Awesome.
Now, if you store your lemons or limes or whatever citrus thing that you are juicing in a fridge, it can kind of tend to get sort of stiff and dry, I found. So if you find that that's happening, you can either take the palm of your hand and just sort of roll the lemon or lime or orange or whatever you're trying to juice, before you cut it, of course, on a hard surface until it gets sort of more soft and pliable, and then you'll get better juice that way. Or if you're really struggling, you can even like put it in the microwave for a little while, and sometimes that'll help burst some of those cells that are holding onto some of that juice and give you more juice that way.
So
What do we got here?
We're going to do
We got
3
some-
teaspoons.
Mexican vanilla here.
Yep, 3 teaspoons of vanilla. And on my recipe, I've marked it as real vanilla. Do your best with whatever vanilla you can get.
But you're gonna want like Mexican vanilla, not the Madagascar vanilla, because it just tastes, I don't know how to describe it. It tastes homier.
It's not as floral.
It's not as floral. That's 1. How many? 3?
3, please.
2. And 3. I know it's gotten a lot harder to find Mexican vanilla in my experience. So often there's something in the grocery store where I shop where it's like a mixture of Mexican vanilla and then like vanilla flavored extract.
And
It's as close as I can get.
Here's 1 cup of water. And I'll
1
bring
cup
you
of
another
water.
half cup.
Okay. Here's 1 cup of water. Mom has the cutest vintage stuff sometimes, I swear.
You like my canisters?
I do. I like all your vintage kitchen stuff. It looks so cute, and it works too. Here's the other half a cup. All right, so that was 1.5 cups of water.
Yep.
And so we've got honey, sugar, cloves, cinnamon sticks, water, and vanilla in here.
Yep.
Is there anything else we needed?
No, nothing left on the counter to put
Oh,
in.
and the lemon juice. Did I say lemon juice?
If you didn't, you needed to.
Okay, there was definitely lemon juice in there. You saw me put it in, 6 teaspoons. So, Mama, what are we doing next?
So we've got the syrup all boiled and then simmered for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing we have to do, where are you?
Right here.
The next thing we have to do is strain the syrup because you don't want those chunks of cloves or cinnamon sticks on your baklava. So,
Right. And it's easier to strain it than sit there and pick it out.
and I'm going to make sure I don't make a mess. Honey, I don't want to burn your hands.
That's alright. It wouldn't be the first time I've burned myself.
And normally I have a huge measuring cup to pour this into, but it is in the refrigerator with some gingerbread chilling. So I'm going to get another.
Are we doing gingerbread houses this next week?
We are. So I'll bake the gingerbread off today, and then
The boys love that. They get to decorate gingerbread houses with Nana.
I love it.
it's a tradition that was started by my girlfriend, Catherine, when we all had young babies. And I had never made a gingerbread house. See, I'm making a mess, so.
It happens. Like,
All right.
we're not Food Network.
That gets all of the syrup out of the kettle. And
We'd be doing a lot less work and be getting paid a lot more money.
And one thing I wanted to remind you of, if when you're making this syrup, that it's about 4 or 5 cups of syrup, but you want a big kettle to do this in because using one that's just right sized, that syrup will boil over on you every single time. And if you've ever cleaned up syrup on your stove, it's not fun.
And if it does boil over, do not use your bare hands, because boiling sugar syrup is one of the most dangerous things to get on yourself, because it will harden and it will still burn, so it will be stuck to you.
So it's like wax.
Very, very painful. I make toffee every year, and let's just say that I
You've
have
done it once or twice?
definitely learned to be careful.
Yeah.
I know that when I'm making toffee, if the bubbles get too high and look like they're about to spill out, I can just put in like a little bit of butter in it, and that will make the bubbles cool down. But it might affect the flavor in this. So if you want to try it and let us know what happens, go ahead and let us know in the comments below.
Or just don't boil it over. So you see this nice clear amber color that you've got of this syrup?
Mm-hmm.
That needs to cool while we're layering the baklava.
Right, we're gonna start layering the baklava, which means I need to go get my oldest, because that is sort of something special. And I'm gonna see if my youngest is ready to help too.
Okay, and shall I get the stool out?
Yeah, go ahead and get the stool and I'll get the kids, and we will meet back here in just a minute. All right, we've got our stool, we've got our helpers. Normally I would make some joke about too many cooks in the kitchen, but for baklava, it does actually work to have at least 2 people working on it, so that your phyllo doesn't dry out. Oh, and before we forget, if you are gonna make this, make sure that you let your frozen phyllo dough thaw in the fridge over a couple of days before you start making it.
And don't set anything on it.
You can buy this in your freezer section of your grocery store, and like my mom just said, make sure that you don't set anything on it. You don't want those sheets of phyllo to stick together, because that just means it's gummy and it's ruined.
So before we start,
we have got a full stick of butter. It's going in the nuker.
yep, in the microwave
Till it melts. You want to make sure that you have that melted butter on hand. You want to make sure you have your melted butter on hand so that you can take your pastry brush and put it on the phyllo dough as it gets laid down, again, so it doesn't dry out, right?
And this recipe calls for 6 sticks of butter to be melted as we layer each layer.
We might not go through that much,
That's why we melt one at a time.
but we might go through that much. So just make sure you've got plenty of extra butter on hand, just in case you go through all 6 sticks.
So while that butter is melting, I'm going to open one of these rolls. Don't take out the other
Actually,
box.
considering how much butter is in here, adding just a tiny bit of butter to prevent it from boiling over probably wouldn't change the flavor that much.
Right, once you pour the syrup on the...
Right.
Good point.
Cool. So we've got this phyllo. It comes in a package like this. And yes, I know some people make their own, and I'm very impressed, but I'm not gonna do it. Are you gonna do it, Mom?
No, one of my girlfriends did do it, and she's like, "Are you crazy?" I said, "No, I use regular packaged phyllo dough." So it took about a minute to melt our butter.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to mix.
And that was on medium high.
Oh, and our oven just preheated.
That's right. Okay. And we're preheating the oven to 350 degrees, but it's going to be on a while because this takes time.
Well, actually, your oven isn't quite perfect with it.
Okay. Butter.
Oh, that's right. So your oven isn't quite perfect with its
I have to set
temperature, right?
Right. I have to set if I want a 350 degree oven, I need to set the dial to 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm. And mine is the opposite. Mine gets too hot, so I often have to go 25 degrees under what my temperature is supposed to be. Don't we usually butter the pan first?
No. All of this butter soaks through.
Yeah, but it'd be easier to get it to stick if we butter the pan first.
That would work. All right, so what Jesse's doing...
So what I'm doing is I am just lightly brushing the phyllo with... and I just tore it. You try not to tear it.
And each layer...
I'm lightly brushing it with butter.
But you have to do it for each single sheet of phyllo dough.
Each single sheet of phyllo dough, right? And Mom's job is to carefully separate the sheets and place them down where she wants them.
If you get a roll of phyllo dough that has somehow been smushed together and is giving you problems separating, throw it away.
Yeah, there's not really a good way to make it work.
No. If somebody finds it, post it on here, because I have struggled with being able to separate some sheets that had gotten smushed.
Got some air bubbles.
That's okay. So what the boys are going to help us with is on the 5th layer of phyllo dough.
This
We're
is
just-
not picking up as much. Do you have a...
You're good.
Is
That's
this the one
fine.
we usually use?
Yes. She's talking about the pastry brush.
I just feel like
Now
it's
that
not
you
picking
get
up
to
as
your-
much butter.
Now that you get to you don't need that much. You just have to paint it. We're on our 3rd layer. 2 more to go.
Oh, and this is unsalted butter, right?
Yes, please do unsalted butter.
I use a lot of salted butter, but this is not one that I would mess with. Okay, guys, when we need your help, we're going to ask for your help, okay? You guys can stay on the stool. I just need you to not crowd me, okay? So that I have some room to maneuver my pastry brush.
Because the boys'
That
job
was
is
3?
that is 3. We're on
Okay.
4 now. And you can see why this takes a little time.
So you were telling them what the boys' job was.
The boys' job is going to be to take some, like a 1/4 cup measure, and scoop it in that nut mixture that we made, right guys? And sprinkle it over the 5th sheet of phyllo dough. So every 5 sheets, the boys are going to have to work really hard to get some nut mixture on.
So, raise your hand if you've done this before. Hey, Teddy, we need your attention. Raise your hand if you've done this before. Bart has helped us with this before. That's right. Teddy
this
has
is your
not yet.
first
This is
time.
his first time he gets to help with baklava.
I know what Teddy's help was, eating it.
Oh, who likes to eat baklava? Who? Raise your hand if you like to eat baklava.
And this is our 5th sheet, right?
This is number 5. And
All
I
right.
am not done buttering it
No,
yet.
I know you're not. But it's a great family project to do.
It is because I have no idea how you did all this all your own.
All right, guys, I'm going to hand you the...
Oh, I didn't quite get that edge, did I? I have to dry out. Okay.
Okay, who's going to... Teddy, are you going to
Teddy
do
can
the
do
first?
the first one. Because Teddy's never... Oh, you want to make sure you spread it.
So you're going to want to
Spread
sprinkle,
it
sprinkle, sprinkle.
all over.
So I'm going to use my hands a little bit and sprinkle some of this
Clean
nut
hands.
mixture. Oh, yes.
I mean, even if it wasn't a year that we were in a global pandemic situation, clean hands when you're baking.
Can you sprinkle just a little bit more in this corner? Yeah, great. Great job.
Good job, baby.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're trying to get that nut mixture a little bit evenly over the 5 layers.
Mm-hmm.
So Bart, are you going to be patient until we get 5 more layers done? All right.
Are we staggering this at all, or are we doing...
I'm not.
Okay.
And the reason I'm not is because it'll come out of the pan so much easier if we get all the layers.
Oh, yeah, because you'll have plenty of space around the edge. So this is phyllo dough that is
9
designed
by
for
14.
a 9 by 13 pan, but we're using a bigger pan just because a lot of times you'll get like the edges or the corners will just be too much
Right, they
for a
get
9
kind
by
of
13.
rounded in a 9 by 13. So instead of having to cut it, I've chosen to just use my bigger lasagna pan. And when I started doing that, I liked the way that it is cut easier and
It does smell good.
oh, it does smell good, doesn't it? With the melted butter and the cinnamon and sugar
Very,
and nuts.
very special
Cinnamon,
treat.
miss-
The boys actually yesterday were like, so tomorrow do we get to eat baklava?
Oh yes, when we get it done, we'll know.
They're very excited. It's very interesting what things end up being like can't miss, absolutely essential holiday traditions. Like,
What did Bart say a while ago?
what did he say?
Please tell me we're not going to miss staying at Nana and Bampa's New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve because of the pandemic.
Oh yeah, he didn't even want to he didn't want to open presents unless he could do it at Nana and Bampa's. I had to promise him that if Nana and Bampa couldn't have us over that night, we would open presents a different day.
Woo-wee, that's big.
So what number is that?
This I'm going on 3.
3, okay.
This will be the 3rd layer I'm putting down.
So I'm really interested to know what things end up being holiday traditions. Mom's trying to take control of the pastry brush for me again.
Well, the reason that
You want to go fast, I know.
the
Go
pastry
really fast.
sheets will dry out.
So that was 3.
Yep. So you never open more than 1 roll at a time. You don't take the
4.
second package of phyllo dough out of the refrigerator until you absolutely need it.
Mm-hmm.
And that will save a lot of headaches that I learned the hard way.
Okay, we're gonna need another stick of butter in here soon.
All right, is this 5?
This is 5. All right, so
Give me that, and the boys and you can
I
do the...
am going to brush this quick first so it doesn't dry out, and then I'll give it to you.
Sounds fine.
All
It doesn't always work out that evenly when we're just about at the end and we need...
right. So I'd like to really hear what sort of things are. What are your sort of strange holiday traditions? Sorry, my dad's crawling around on the floor, so he's not in the frame. And it's cracking me
We're
up.
making baklava.
We are. Okay, Bart, it's your turn.
Oh,
Okay, Bart's gonna take this, and
Teddy, step up.
it's gonna come over here so they can see it a little bit better. So Teddy, can you step down so Bart can have his turn?
How about if you guys do that?
Okay.
Step up, step down, step up,
Bart,
step
you
down.
step up, and I want you to evenly spread it. So sort of shake it and spread it evenly over the whole
Nice.
thing. Very good. I'm getting it all over.
wow.
And how much do you use? Do you use about a quarter cup, or do you use like a half a cup?
I use between a quarter and a half, depending
Okay.
on
So
how the
can I
nuts are.
can I put a little bit more, or do you want to do the other a little bit? Okay, careful. You want to make sure that you're filling in those spots that were empty. Okay, and right here. All right, maybe over here a little bit.
And again, you're just trying to get an even coating.
Right, and I'm going to use my clean hands to sort of
Great.
put that all over.
And now we
Yeah,
gotta
I got a couple of cheese balls. It's great.
really start working fast because this end is
this
starting
is
to
starting
dry.
to dry out a little bit.
Butter is ready.
Get rid of butter.
How's that for timing?
That was beautiful.
So that's one thing that helps having two hands.
Or 3, or 4.
Four.
4 or 5.
Ooh, 5 hands? Wow. How many fingers would that be if you had 5 hands?
All right, well, we are going to speed through the rest of this, and I will see you when it's ready to put it in the oven.
So this is what the finished stacked rolls or stacked phyllo and nut mixture looks like.
And yeah, we want to make sure to tell you that the last 10, instead of going 5, nut, 5, the last 10 layers will just be a single solid layer of 10 layers of phyllo with butter in between, no nut mixture in those last 10.
Right, that gives you a nice layered crust to go through. So the other helpful thing is I've found that after years and years of doing this, if I cut almost all the way through this now into serving size pieces, it works so much easier. When I tried to cut it after the phyllo was baked, it just kind of fell apart on me. So.
Well, and why don't you show them how small your serving size pieces
Okay.
are?
All right, so I'm probably making them about 1 inch by 1 inch, maybe 3/4. This is it's not a sugary sweet, it's a honey sweet, but it's still sweet.
I mean, we've got like 3 cups of honey, 2.5 cups of sugar, almost 6 sticks of butter. This is a very rich dessert, so you really don't need that much of it.
The thing is that I'm not a real big fan of sweets, but with the honey syrup on this, I really like this. And this is years and years of doing this that I kind of
I'm gonna just let her do her thing because I know I would screw this up.
get a feel for this. If it doesn't come out perfect, who cares? That's the schnibbles that you get to eat, right? Rather than serve your company. Or your family in this case this year.
Yep. That's right, we get to benefit from the fruit of my mother's labors.
So yesterday we were supposed to make baklava and we got about 6-7 inches of snow that didn't make it safe for Jess and her family to come.
Oh, I'm so sore from shoveling.
But I got a few other treats made while they were not here. I made, normally I make about 17 kinds for Christmas and give them out as gifts. I scaled it back to 6 plus a gingerbread house this year.
So I have a neighbor who I was talking to about Christmas cookies and how I usually do a lot and how my mom does so much, and she's like, I don't even know if I could name that many different kinds of cookies.
I have a section in my recipe, digital recipe, that's called Christmas recipes, so I can keep track of what I like to make every year. Sometimes we try something new.
Somebody told me once that that's like a German tradition
It is.
to really just give a lot of that homemade hospitality to take with people
That's right.
when they leave your home.
That's right. And you never go hungry at my table.
Which is where I get it from. Like, if anybody wants to know why I insist on feeding everyone, it's this lady right here. It's what I was taught is a good and warm way to welcome people to your home, is to make sure that there's plenty of food for everyone.
And I learned that from not only my mom, but mostly my grandmother. That she always had something ready in case people stopped by, and people often stopped by around mealtime because she was an awesome cook. And as you can see, it's a little harder when you make the cross cuts because the layers want to lift into your fingers, but
I can see that.
I'm just persisting. And what we'll do now is we will put this in a 325 degree oven. 325, no, 350.
We told them 350 in the beginning.
It is 350. And I believe it bakes for an hour. 1 second.
So the syrup
Yes,
at
it
this
does.
point is still cooling. We are still reserving that for later because it will be poured on after it bakes, right?
So we bake the baklava for an hour. We bring it out, we pour all the syrup over it, and then bake it for another, I think, 2-3 minutes.
Oh, okay, and then we do bake it after the syrup is on. Okay.
Yep, 3 minutes. And that what that does is that really allows that syrup to be absorbed by the baked phyllo dough.
I don't know if you guys can hear the band of kids' instruments in the background, but my kids are having fun with some makeshift drums right now.
One of the things they're using is we took an oatmeal container, a big oatmeal
Oh,
container.
you can't blame me for this one. This is not a we. If it's any kind of we, it's a royal we. You did this.
The boys and I made it. And we decorated the lid and put construction paper around the edges, and they colored that. And I took out some, I think they're chopsticks.
Oh,
Wooden chopsticks.
it was a pennant of some kind that was a decoration, and then we never used the pennant, and the sticks on the top and the bottom fell apart and out of it, so they were perfect for drumsticks.
So as you can see, we've got the cross hatches done on the phyllo dough, and we're going to stick this in the oven now, and we'll come back in an hour and show you about pouring the syrup on and baking it for another 3 minutes.
Yep, so we will see you in about an hour.
So this is what your baklava looks like when you bring it out of the oven.
And you'll see that there's some stuff that got on the edges, some of that sugar and nut stuff. That's totally normal.
So here's what we do. We have all that cooled syrup, and we're going to pour it evenly across all the sections.
Do you have any method to it, or things that you need to keep in mind, making sure to get in cracks or something, or?
So because we cut it ahead of time, that helps with being able to get through everything.
Okay. Oh, you can hear that bubbling maybe. That's the liquid reacting with how hot the pan is.
And
Also normal.
The other thing you want to make sure to do is use all of the syrup, because even though it looks like it's swimming in it right now, when you bake this off, it's just going to go like a sponge. And that's really what gives it that wonderful honey goodness.
It's gooey.
So right now it looks
yummy.
like there's a pool of syrup. When I bring it out in 3 minutes, we're going to put it back in the oven. You can just see it all cooling in there. You won't see that.
So you can see it's sort of swimming in that syrup. But we're not going to see that syrup, that much syrup, for that long. It's going to soak it all up, like my mom said.
Just like a sponge.
We're going to put it in the oven for 3 minutes. And by the time you take it out, you won't even see most of that syrup anymore.
Like magic.
No, magic would be getting my kids to be quiet while we're filming.
Oh, there's that. Okay. So, as you can see, most of that syrup has soaked in, and it will continue to soak in as it's hot. You don't want to just pop a piece of this in your mouth.
I mean, I really want to.
I know you do.
It looks delicious.
But that hot syrup is really going to burn. So let it cool, let it all soak in, and by dinner tonight, we should be able to have some
We're looking forward to that.
holiday baklava.
That sounds amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for baklava. Thanks to my mom for teaching us how to make this lovely holiday tradition of ours. If you enjoyed this video, you can go ahead and if you want to go watch some of our older videos, you could like or subscribe if you want. We try to put out at least one video a week. And since I've got my mom here, if you've watched any of my videos before, you may know what's coming. My mom makes beautiful handmade jewelry.
Thank you.
I'm wearing one of her pieces right now.
I have earrings in my...
Earrings are really pretty.
Speaking of those...
Oh, you did. You did.
I did, and if you choose to buy something from me, it comes packaged like this in a wonderful box.
Beautiful purple ribbon
and whatever ribbon I use, the tissue paper inside matches.
Look at that. It's so pretty. Okay, and yeah, they are the same. They're the same ones. Oh, they're so pretty. I want to put them on right now.
So I made her a set of freshwater pearl earrings like I'm wearing today. The necklace I'm wearing is in honor of my children, their spouses, my husband and I, and my grandchildren. I use Swarovski pearls, or Swarovski crystals. I used Swarovski pearls on some of my stuff and some glass pearls and freshwater pearls. So
Yeah, well, I mean, and she makes custom stuff, so if you've got something in mind and you think you can describe it, and she can probably make it for you. She makes really beautiful stuff. So if you are looking for gifts, make sure you shop local, and I will leave all of the information in the description box down there. And so thank you so much for joining us today. I hope to see you again soon. Maybe the next time it'll be in my kitchen.
And I hope you make baklava.
Yes, definitely. It's so yummy. So thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.